Hey everyone, welcome to the Construction Contractor Business Builder podcast. We've got the honor of hosting Nathan Rosenlund. He is the CEO and founder of Kodiak Consulting Group. Really looking forward to talking with you today, Nathan. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Derek. And I'm looking forward to this also too.
Yeah, definitely. We've chatted before, and I feel like you've got a very unique but interesting way that you work with clients and the consulting that you do. Can you share a bit of your journey in the construction industry and your background and what led you to establish Kodiak Consulting Group?
I can. One thing that I'll start this off with is everybody has a story in their business, and it's good to remember why you started it. And sometimes it might take deviations along the way, just like my path has. So I started many years ago in the construction field itself. I got trained to be a cabinet maker, and I am today. That if somebody said, "What is your profession?" I would say I'm a cabinet maker. And in the process of doing so, I kept advancing up the chain of command and different positions within a construction company. And in the midst of that, the owners of the company wanted to start retiring, looking at retirement and settling out. So they brought in a business coach, and that business coach on his first day of training the leadership and the management team, I was sitting in that room and I said, I am going to be that someday. And
Yeah.
so that totally changed my path. I was going to be content just staying within the company and retire in my later years, but my path totally changed. My whole vision, what I could be, and and then the education started. Self-education, learning, watching, reading, talking, visiting, just grasping, and it was just even my wife noticed the big difference because I went from reading history books to reading nothing but business books. And then it took 8 years. 8 years later, I was able to hang out my shingle, started Kodiak Consulting Group. And then with that in mind of making a difference in the small business owner's life by giving them the confidence that they can, it sounds construction term wise, build a foundation they can build their company off of and very
Mhm.
focused on that. Getting those things done that you need to do that you should never have to do again, but getting them done so you can keep growing, keep expanding, and doing
Yeah.
remodels on this house called your business.
Yeah, I love that. And those are really special moments when your eyes get, opened or you have that kind of that thought wave. Sometimes it's in an instant, sometimes it takes time to accumulate and then you just sort of realize it one day. But where you realize the trajectory you're on and where you want to go and your world is opened up. And I think most business owners out there can easily relate to that where they had that first idea to, what they want to move in. Often it is, starting a business of their own or maybe being a consultant and teaching people with the knowledge and expertise that you know. So very, very cool story there. Can you dive into like how like, your mission is to transform contractors' vision into thriving, systematized businesses? You talked about that foundation that they can build a business from. What does that look like? What does that look like on a kind of daily or monthly business time frame that you're working with companies?
It happens in a couple ways, but first and foremost, it starts with a plan. So building a plan that has actionable items that you can obtain. And for construction specifically, everyone has this problem. When do we buy a truck? How do we buy a truck? How do you get there? If you plan for it accordingly ahead of time and you save up money and you go buy that truck on cash instead of debt,
Mhm.
90% of the time that's a better move than going into debt to get that truck. But
Mhm.
90% of people go into debt to buy that truck in the construction industry because they need it and they need it now. Well,
Mhm.
why wouldn't you step back and put a little strategy in place? So I visually help you plan a roadmap. So the day-to-day operations, I don't dive into that specifically, but I talk about the higher approach. What is your roadmap? Where are you trying to go? And what actions do you have to take today to help you tomorrow? So you're both working on the company and
Mhm.
in the company. And there's things that happen in both and they work together. And
Mhm.
then I also work with my clients dealing with the everyday issue. So they call or email, or we have to do a emergency Zoom call because they're dealing with something right now and they just need some guidance how to get through it.
Yeah.
I blew up at my guy this morning because he was late for the 15th time, and it was wrong of me to do that, but I don't know what to do. Or that was one that happened. He wanted to fire him. I don't.
Yeah.
It didn't fire him, but the problem was them things are so big for the owner at that moment in time that they just need to talk it through before they do the action. They most of the time they get to the right solution. They just want to verify that what they're going to do is okay to do. So I
Mhm.
also work with them on that on a day to day, but
Yeah.
keeping them on the pathway that they've already created that will guide them to where they want to go.
Yeah,
So for
definitely. I
example,
know.
if you want to get a
Mhm.
shop for your business, great. As soon as you say, I want to get a shop, most of us start to get the gloss in our eyes and we start looking for the shop and we start trying to find it and where's the land and how I'm going to build it. And so I make them step back and say, what do you need the shop for? All that stuff. We get that established and then we say, let's plan this out. How about for the first quarter of next year, you look for land and start diving in and work at a couple different angles. Like how big do you need? Where do you want to be located? And what are you going to use it for? And then in the second quarter, now we're really going to dive down and focus on finding the right piece of property or the shop that's already existing. And then the third quarter is purchase it or line up your finances. And however the order is, instead of just diving in and going to buy something or purchase or rent something.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to pull out there. And I know one of your, I think, strengths is that you are an excellent planner. You've shown me some of your visual tools of what, plans look like in, quarter to quarter, multi-year plans, runways for a business, which is really strong. And that planning, I feel, is like an exponential activity where you can spend a small amount of time and it can have a huge effect and benefit and save you a lot more time than it takes to actually put the plan together, and you'll be in a lot better place. As you mentioned, I was watching a masterclass the other day with Bill Clinton, I think it was, and he was talking about leadership, and it was on one of those points of what can you do today that
Yeah.
that has a small cost or takes a small amount of time that will have like a very large payoff in the future, either with money or time. And I think planning is definitely one of those activities. Can you tell us a little bit more about what some of the tools that you have, or how you would plan out a business with a new client?
Yeah, so the process of it is gather information, put plan together, step two, put the goals together, and step four, make the visual plan. So I use software to do the planning.
Mhm.
So it's a very simple Word document. If I'm in a Zoom call, I type it in Teams. I'm kind of getting into the details, but what I'm gathering from there is to hear about the owner and the direction that they want the company to go and what they're trying to do with it. So the gather information, it's just general conversations, not Zoom as a tool, I guess. The other
Yeah.
thing is then I dive into different programs like Lucid or Canva and describe and put a visual to what you're saying. 77% of people in this world are visual learners. So
Mhm.
that means it's still the same thing with your plan. And in that process, I put it together and put these I call them milestones on there. And I
Yeah.
use colors and I use things like that so that
Mhm.
when you as the owner look at it, you can easily see where you are. But the process of getting there is not just like, I'm going to build you a roadmap and it's going to be this and everyone's the same. It's actually the big important part is to gather the information.
Yeah.
So how do I pair that? I pair that with what's called the Kodiak report. The Kodiak report gives you this in written form, all staged out. The average length of that document, very detailed out in the high points, is about 9 pages long. So
Yeah.
from that gathering information, I create this report, plus together we create the visual so that you're
Mhm.
not just left with just a visual, but you also get it written. And then from there, it tells you when to implement stuff. Like instead of saying January 2nd, I'm going to implement this, it'll say January will have this, you need to implement this thing. And then we work and make sure you get it going. So then the
Mhm.
accountability comes in for both partners.
Yeah.
Does that answer that?
Yes, definitely. No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And like you said, over 70, what was it, 77% of people are visual learners. And I would say again, or I guess anyways, that in the construction industry, it's probably above that. A lot of, guys were
Yes.
hands-on. We're used to figuring stuff out and seeing is this beam or whatever's gonna fit. Even a set of blueprints, it's something visual you can see, and having a blueprint for your business, and a visual plan that you can see the pieces and timelines and how things fit in together. And like I said, some color coding and different visual aspects can make it more real, more tangible than just like we want to make this much revenue by this time, or I want to buy a shop by this
Yeah.
time. It does make a huge difference. I know you're big on systems as well, and systematizing a business. Can you speak to that as far as some of the systems that you help contractors make, and some of the mistakes that you see contractors making when they try to implement systems in their business?
Yeah, in the construction industry, what we need to get away from is reliance of memory and
Mhm.
calendar. So you need to find a
Yeah.
software program that will help you control your company. Now, there are many out there, and I'm going to go on my favorite and the one I know the best. And I actually offer a product. I will train you how to set up and use Builder Trend. Builder Trend is a
Mhm.
wide known in the construction industry. It can be used for any of the aspects of it, big or small, electrician, however you want to use it. Okay. The key to that is you need a software to run your company your operation, that can not only schedule out your work, but it communicates with your clients and it communicates with your internal team. So that has to happen. If you don't have one, whether you use House Call Pro, it doesn't matter which one you use with the one that you're comfortable with, the one that you like, but you need one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first system that you're going to work on.
Yep.
Now, how do you get to know which one to get? Because there's different variations and different costs. Everyone's in a different level. Well, then you step back and what you do is you create a few, you pick about the top 10 processes you need to figure out. And usually the owner is still in the field, like the love that they have for pounding the nail and bringing stuff to life by putting it together. They don't want to deal with the schedule and the communication and the billing and the invoicing and the selections and on and on and on. So they need to have confidence in what they have behind them doing that. Well, it depends on what level of business you're at. So then you find the software, you pick the top 10 processes that you have to deal with, you process them out. That dictates what software to go with. And if you can automate it within that software, even better. And then you go into how can I systemize my company better after that?
Mm-hmm.
So them are the
Yep.
first couple steps. And then it's like, okay, especially with AI, there's that big push for AI, even in the construction industry. How do you create content faster? How do you create processes faster? How do you create invoices faster? And you can use AI and everyone talks and AI can be such true, but keep it
Mm-hmm.
as a tool and use it to
Mm-hmm.
help you get those processes done, those tasks done, instead of saying AI is going to save me in the office. I don't need a person in the office because I have AI. Well, that ain't true either. There's a delicate balance here. And
Mm-hmm.
especially in the construction industry, it's people to people. You have clients to the business, but you also have people to people inside, from your subcontractors to your vendors, to your employees. So you can't lose that too. It's not, you do not systemize that. All you do is you make sure that stays focused. Clients, people to people first, and then you work through it. And then pick the tools that will help you, that will take care of the things you don't want to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that's individual. So it's tailored to you as a construction company, not I have this system and you have to do it. No, the foundation of how to get the system done is the same, but it's tailored to you to help you get your job done more efficient and faster and better, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I like how you laid out the pieces there and how you hit the nail on the head with, it in this day and age, it is essential for you to have some sort of a software solution to manage your company, some sort of field software. There's a lot of different ones out there. Do a bit of research, figure out what's going to fit for you, but all of them will be helpful. And if push comes to shove in the future and you grow or you need to switch to another type of software. If you have those processes in place, generally you can, there's a little bit of tweaking, but you can move that process to another software solution or what have you. Or if AI comes along and makes something easier, you can, you switch it up a bit. But the process of how things run or operate are generally going to stay pretty solid, over the course of a business and over the years. For those contractors who maybe have some software or, like you said, are kind of early in finding software, you mentioned like get your 10, processes in place or figure out kind of the main things you want the software to do. Can you talk about how they might determine those 10 kind of processes or what that process looks like that they could get in place to actually utilize the software with?
Yep. So, clear example, pick a project you have right now. So, from the time that the client signed up to do any kind of work, what did you have to do to get it done? You had to go to your calendar and put it on there. That's process number one. What did you have to do to transfer the job from a sale to a job? That's process number two. Process number three is how did I communicate with the client when I'm going to be there? I might have told them in person, but how do I know that they know I'm going to be there? So that's number three. So now you have the communication line and you work your way through that whole thing. How do I order the parts for that job or the pieces for that job? That's process number four. Do what you're doing right now. Just write it out. So
Yeah.
you put a title. It's like writing a paper for high school. Everybody doesn't like it. It's okay. Just write it. Say, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
this is where AI can help you. Go into AI and say, my first process, transfer a job from sales to a project within House Call Pro. Give me the process.
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT or one of those will just line it up for you. And it might be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. You might have to edit a little bit here and there, but I'll get it
Yeah.
there. And
Mm-hmm.
you might be like, oh, I do that, or I don't do that, or whatever. Use it
Yeah.
like that. And it'll get you,
Mm-hmm.
but take a job you have now and write down the steps it takes you to get that job to completion. How do you
Mm-hmm.
invoice them? Another process. How do
Yeah.
you make sure if there's a change order? Oh, another process. How do you make sure
Mhm.
that your subs know when they need to be there? Oh, there's another process. Then it goes, okay, I do. And then there's generalized questions that come from them. How many projects, jobs, customers are you handling at what time? What is your capacity and what are you trying to accomplish? Then you go tie that in with your big term goal. What are you trying to get in a year's time? Maybe you're trying to increase revenue, increase profit, add more projects to your portfolio, redo your website, whatever it may be. Then you go, okay, what software is going to help me get to that big goal at the same time taking care of all these processes I'm doing right now?
Hmm.
It might be Buildertrend, it might be House Call Pro, it might be Procon, it might be Joust, it might be Java. I mean, there's so many little
Hmm.
things. Java is, I guess, is a coding thing, but
Yeah.
you get what
Hmm.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
That's you do it.
definitely a lot of different solutions and software out there. And that's, I mean, one of the benefits to having someone with like Nathan on your team is where what you laid out, it's simple as far as like the contractor knows it. These are the steps. But I think one of the issues is contractors can get overwhelmed. They haven't done it before, or they haven't seen what that looks like and don't have the experience with it. And that's where getting some help with this definitely will make your life a heck of a lot easier. You can go and do it on your own and figure it out and use, ChatGPT and watch the videos and do trial and error, or you can just, reach out to someone like Nathan here and get help with it of, getting these set up. But I really like how you simplify it. You keep it structured. It's step one, step two, step three,
Yeah.
make it as easy as possible. And the first processes should be easy, and there's probably going to be some information missing, like you said, or things are in the wrong order. They will evolve and improve over time. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time out. You're going to try to implement it. There's going to be things wrong. There's going to be steps, missing or whatever. The important thing is to get started, keep it simple, and then you can build and elaborate as time goes on.
Yep.
What would your advice be to a contractor just starting to scale? Maybe they've been in business for a number of years and maybe they've got a bit of processes or systems in place. Now they want to grow, they want to expand. What would be your advice or your approach for a company that wants to grow significantly?
Make yourself professionalized.
Okay.
So that involves three things, right?
Hmm.
You need to take care of your marketing, you need to take care of your internal marketing, and you need to take care of your calendar.
Hmm.
Because when you do this, when you professionalize yourself, I call it, not that you're unprofessional before, but you're going to create consistency. People are going to be drawn to you through your marketing plan. When you do this, you also have to internally market so you don't lose people and they can handle and your employees will stay because you cannot grow without a team unless you take the marketing approach that you're just going to be the general and you're going to sub everything out. Then it's different. So then you have to know that internal marketing means you have to get more subs on board because you're going to grow your company. And then the last one is your calendar, your capacity with how much you can handle. If you're not aware of your own time constraints and your own timing of things and how you can produce the products and the stuff you say in your marketing, if you screw up too many times, and I would say that screwing up once is okay, or even twice, but three times and you get that rep out there, you've ruined everything you've worked hard for. So make sure you're very aware of what it takes to do what you're trying to do. And it all starts with those three things: marketing, spending, educate yourself, and making sure it's done right, internal. And last thing is your capacity on your calendar.
Wonderful. Yeah, definitely all super critical. I'd love to like get into each one with you and dive a little bit deeper below the surface. Let's start with the marketing. We don't need to get into a big talk about marketing, but what's some of the key components that you would want to see in place before, as far as marketing, before a company tries to grow and expand or enables them to grow and expand?
So marketing is made up of five things. I am no marketing expert. I'm not a graphic designer or website designer, none of that.
Hmm.
There's five things you need for marketing. You need to know your message. You need to know your audience. You need to know the channels that you want to get them on. You need to know that you have results in place and metrics in place so that you know what works. And then you need to have a great follow-up system.
Hmm.
Whether that's a CRM, whether that's a spreadsheet, doesn't matter. But all them things, them are the five things we work on: clear message, channel, audience, results, and follow through.
Hmm.
That's what marketing's made up of. Once you establish that on the foundation level, like 99% of all foundations in the world, they get buried. Same thing with
Yeah.
that. You get them done, you don't have to think about them anymore. Now,
Hmm.
because now when you've defined the channels, YouTube is different than LinkedIn. LinkedIn is different than website. Website is different than newsletter. What works for you and what works for what you're trying to get. So then we keep an eye on the outcome.
Yeah, I like how you laid out the messaging and audience. I feel like that's something a lot of contractors feel that they sort of know, but have never really taken the time to express it explicitly
Yeah.
or document it. And it's so important because everything else stems from, your messaging and your audience. Who are you trying to reach? What sort of message are you portraying with your business, or do you want them to receive? And that will essentially be part of your branding, and that's how you will be perceived in the marketplace, and who you're going to attract. So if you feel like you're attracting, low quality clients, as far as like they're not the type of projects you want to be doing, they're not the type of clients necessarily that you want to be working with, you've got to go back to your messaging branding and take a look at your company for sure. So that's awesome. The other thing you mentioned is your internal branding or your internal marketing. Can you speak
Yeah.
about some components there, and what that looks like?
When contractors, construction, electricians, plumbers bring on a coach or a consultant into their business, one of the first things that is felt by the employees or the coworkers, whatever you call them, or your team, is that things are going to change and most people don't like change. So at the beginning, what you're going to do is establish your vision and you're going to tell the team what your vision is so they can see themselves as part of that plan. And then you're going to say it again and again and again and again. And you're going to keep working that internal side of it because
Mm,
they want to be a part of it. If they buy into the vision and they want to keep working there, you're going to make their life. You're going to give them fair pay. You're going to give them benefits if you so choose. You're going to give them extras. You're also going to give them confidence and you're going to give them the place to learn and knowledge and be trained. And you're going to work this all out with them, but you're going to lay out your vision for them so they see where you're trying to go. And that has to be done internally and including your subs. You need your
mhm,
subs to understand your vision to a certain degree so that they know they're part of something that's going to stick around for a while. Because if you look into the Zig Ziglar, big name amongst the coaches, and Tom Ziglar took it over. But they've done a study and they've done it for, I think it's 47 years or something like that. All across the world, there's 8 things that all people, doesn't matter your race, your gender, your wealth, sickness, health, whatever, all people want. And some of the top 3 for employees, it is not pay. Pay is number 7, actually. But the top 3 is security, advancement, and training. And
mhm.
security means that they know that you're going to be around for a while. Advancement means is they can either advance with knowledge and training or pay, or they can go from a foreman to a project manager to a job soup to a director of sales and operations, something like that. And
Yeah.
then the last one is training that you're going to take the time to train them to where they need to go.
Yeah.
So you got to both energy in and energy out. So inside the company and outside to the world.
Yeah, makes so much sense. And it's, I think, a new perspective that, again, a lot of people heard of or kind of understand, but I think that's perspective that it's not like marketing like you would do advertising to the masses, but you need to have like an internal culture or brand for your
Mhm.
people, as far as, like you said, your vision and what does it mean to them? Why should they stick around
Mhm.
long term? And I think expectation comes into this too. When you're hiring someone, there can be the convenience, if it will, to be like, we're busy right now. I just need some more bodies. We're going to hire some people and hopefully they work out, and hire 5 and maybe 3 suck and I fire them in a year, 6 months. Like that sort of mentality spreads throughout your culture as well. And even if you have people that have been around for a while, if they see this happening, it doesn't bode well, essentially. If people
Yep.
know that they're secure, like you said, you've hired them for the long term, you're taking time and energy to train them well, the effects will be big improvements across the
Yep.
company for sure. And then the third one you mentioned is calendar. I love this one. Save the best for last. Maybe not the most, one of the most important. They're all super important. But every contractor, I think, it knows the crunch of time management or the lack thereof, and doesn't really keep a great calendar schedule. It's sort of, I wake up early and I work all day, and then I hopefully more got accomplished than gets piled on for the next day. How do you approach time management or the calendar scheduling aspect of a construction business looking to grow?
Yeah. So there's 2 parts to calendar. There's your personal calendar, and then there's the company calendar. And the company calendar is very easy. You have X amount of employees. You can only handle X amount of work per week. Therefore, stack it up. You can't just keep piling it on every day. You got to stack it behind each other. So like hook up the train, right? You got the engine. How much can you do? You just stack every car that you stack on this train is another project in line. And if somebody can't start when they want, you just move the cars around. Like they do it every day in the train yard, you can do it in your company. That's literally how basic and simple your company calendar is. The problem people run into is their personal calendar gets messed up, especially owners that are in the throes every day. So, very simple question. what time do you want to be home for supper? And you answer that, that's your quit time. A half hour before that, or if you're an hour away from wherever, whatever it is, you put that in your calendar, you're done for the day at that time. That's the first step in trying to manage your time. We can give it all. There's times that we have to work through supper. There's times that we have to work Saturdays in the construction industry. I've been there. But it shouldn't happen all the time where you're working 80 hours a week to produce a living that isn't adequate. There's other things going on that are taking your time. And it could be efficiencies, it could be billing incorrectly and all that. So your personal calendar dictates a lot of stuff where you're going to spend your energy on fixing other stuff. And if your rebuttal is, well, I can't do that because my supper's at different times. Well, you actually can if you put it on your calendar and follow it. So that's why calendars on that list and why calendars time management is super important.
Yeah.
And it makes your
Powerful
management
question.
actually go better. If right, so if you're poor at managing your personal finances, would you want to manage your business finances? Probably not, because if you're poor at them, right? That's why we hire bookkeepers. Same thing there. If you're poor at time management, that's why you don't think about it. You have a calendar to tell you what to do.
Yeah, putting some stops and some blocks into your calendar, definitely. Things like if you want to work on some of the stuff we're talking about today, time block it out, 2 hours, 3 hours every, Thursday, Friday, whatever, went Saturday if you got to work a Saturday, but put it in there, and then be true to yourself. But yeah, I love the question, when do you want to be home for supper or dinner? And I think that's a very powerful question. And revolving your day around that, it may not be 100% all the time, but at least you've got some sort of structure to your day instead of just trying to get as much done as you can. So very important there. Yeah, go ahead.
I have to add to this too. The other thing is, in the morning, many times we just start at the job site. We start at the project instead of an office or whatever. How much different it would be if you started, even if it's in your home. I have a client right now that does it in his home. He gets up and he drinks his coffee and sits on his chair, and as he's looking, and he plans his day. And his day goes so much smoother because he starts his day off just, there you go. What am I doing today? Oh, I got to go here and here, and I got to do this, and I got to do that. Your day goes that way then. But how many of us get up, get in our rig, drive to the job? Hey, Derek, you forgot to drop that permit off, so now we can't do it. Oh, okay. I'll be over there in a little bit. Hey, Derek, you said you were going to bill me today. Yep, I'm putting a note and I'll do it tonight, right? But you can prevent a lot of that because you just start your day off going, I'm going to deal with this, and I'm going to deal with this, and I'm going to deal with this today.
Yeah, being proactive instead of reactive. And I think what you were saying there with those urgent kind of calls that come up is priorities, right?
Yep.
Getting what's priority, what do you want to get done today, what's important to get done today, because those little gnats, those little mosquitoes, like emails flying in or
Yep.
requests here and there, they're going to eat you alive by the end of the day if you don't have a plan and you're not on a path. You're just, you're
Yeah.
going to get lost in the jungle more or less. So yeah, so very true. So let's say a contractor, they're stuck in the daily operations. They don't really see a great way out. Where do they start with this? We mentioned those three things. What would be your advice, or how would you start with a contractor who's just overwhelmed? I'll relate this to a request or inquiry I had the other day where I won't get into too many details, but the company had been around for a while. They were struggling with some debt. They were kind of overworked. They felt like they needed to raise their prices, but they were scared to because then they wouldn't get enough work. So let's say there's just a lot of different factors going on. Business isn't going as planned. What would you bring to that scenario, or how would you kind of help them get out of that mentality?
The first thing, so nothing is missed, because you wouldn't want to jump to the wrong conclusion or the wrong solution right away. So on my end, what I would do is I would do what's called a mind dump with them. And I would set aside an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I would have them tell me everything they're dealing with. Like, I've got to pay this bill, I've got debt, so pretty much gather information, but dive deep. I've got to go to my daughter's rehearsal. I'm supposed to make this flyer. I'm supposed to mind dump, like empty their mind. So, and what happens when they do that to me and you, what we get is we get more information to provide a quick solution to get the rocket, to get the train moving, to get the car moving, whatever we got to do. We need to get it moving. Because a stop car, stop train, stop rocket does nothing for you. So therefore, we need to pull that from you. We get it all down, maybe give us a couple minutes. And usually the solution that I've found so far for all across the board is time management. So we start with time. How are we going to control your time? We can't get it back. If you believe, like I do, in God, like time is there, like, but you don't know what's coming tomorrow. but you just got to put
Yeah.
that out there and you got to start controlling your time. So first thing to
Mhm.
do is create a calendar. But they also have this other things going on. So then you go, what is causing you the most stress? And they'll say something like, well, I have loan payments due. Oh, today is the 11th of 12th of December. When is your loan payment due? January 15th. Why is that worrying you today? That's a cover
Mhm.
up. What are you really worried about? And what you
Mhm.
find is there's two or three things that come out in this, and
Mhm.
it's that they're overworked and they're micromanaging at the same time. So then you
Yeah.
say, time is going to help you because you're going to give yourself permission at this time to deal with this problem. And then you're going to encourage them to start pulling away from the micromanagement, which is leading to their overstress.
Mhm. Yeah.
In growth, we're not even talking a plan yet. We're not talking about laying down a roadmap. We're not even talking about where you're trying to go yet. All we're trying to do is get you into the right state of mind so you can make sound decisions and
Yeah.
give honest answers to where you want to be and bring this company.
Yeah, terrific advice and process there. And I think getting out of that headspace sometimes where things are chaotic or, you're worrying about this, that, and the other thing, it's hard to make decisions, good decisions from a place like that. So kind of clearing the air, getting it all
Yeah.
out in the open, figuring out what's the real problem,
Yeah.
what do we actually want to accomplish here, and what looking at the big picture sometimes instead of getting stuck in all the little micromanaging stuff like you mentioned. Can you tell us about a success story or a story of a client that you worked with, and some of the progress you made, and how that the approach that you had with them?
Yeah, the gentleman is a fractional or a CFO, fractional
Mhm.
and CFO. So this isn't a
Yep.
construction story, but it's the one that came to mind. So it's the one I'm going to
Sure.
tell.
Yeah.
He came to me because he's like, I'm having trouble getting my message across, and I don't know why I'm in business. He didn't say it like that. The message
Mhm.
part he did, but not he didn't know why he even started. And
Yeah.
so I was hired for doing two specific things: figure out his message and figure out his why. And I explained it to him. And it was actually going to just be a month to 6 weeks engagement of me just pulling out specific things from him and then coming
Mhm.
back to him with a message and coming back to him with a why.
Yeah.
So that was last October. No, it was a
Hmm.
month before that, last August. He just extended it till the end of March
Hmm.
with me. He
Yeah.
is going to present at a conference in the February. So we're working through that presentation.
Yeah.
He also just his whole demeanor, his success, like he knows what he's trying to do. He was trying to be a fix all for everybody, where
Hmm.
his niche isn't a fix all for everyone. He's actually really good for a certain industry. And so we've
Yeah.
narrowed that down and he now knows that's where he's going. So he was networking with this many people, like a
Mhm.
handful. Now he's going to be networking with the right people. He
Yeah.
also started his own networking group that he realized is doing nothing. He's just being a father figure to these whole group of business owners. And he's like, it's taking my time. And I'm like, you need
Mhm.
to get out. So he's got an exit strategy in that so that he
Yeah.
can pass the leadership off and become a member instead of being the dad to that group.
Hmm.
And the third thing is he was helping another company build their empire for free. And they were
Wow.
making it like, oh, you're going to help all these people. And in the process of it, you can use our stuff and you can say that you were an instructor with this program. And
Hmm.
that was probably the biggest change. I'm like, you are building somebody else's empire for free. And when he realized it, now he's done this month there. He's got an engagement to speak, which he's super ecstatic for in the very
Hmm.
industry that he's a professional in. So he's
Yeah.
gonna knock the socks off it. And number three, his confidence in his own ability and his messaging is so clear now. He's just like, I just know what I'm trying to do. So
Yeah.
it's been really good.
Wow, that's exciting, and yeah, being able to help him through that clarity and have that ability to kind of see things where he can't, because often this will happen. We get stuck in our business. We know how everything runs, and we're operating, and we don't see, we don't have that fresh perspective. We don't have that luxury because we've seen the whole trajectory. We're in the habits, we're in the daily operations, and having that second pair of eyes that is experienced and insightful to say, like, are these activities you're doing, are these groups that you're a part of, is
Yep.
this benefiting you? Could you, approach this from a different way and make these really monumental shifts in the way the business runs or the vision of the business owner that has huge impact on the trajectory we mentioned before. The small inputs that pay off in huge dividends later on, and I think that's what you just
Yeah.
mentioned there with opening the eyes of this business owner and helping guide him through some of the stuff he's doing there. So, Nathan, what's the best way for people to connect with you, learn more about you, or jump on a call with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
There's two ways, pretty simple. LinkedIn is my
Yeah.
favorite channel. So
Mhm.
Nathan Rosenlund, look me up. I'm the cutest Nathan Rosenlund in the world, so you will find me. And
Yeah.
number two is my email is very simple,
Mhm.
nathan.rosenlund at kodiakcct.com. My
Perfect.
website's under construction. It's there, but it's not very good. We're redoing it in 2025. And then, yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me. And I
Wonderful.
love LinkedIn. It's a great channel to keep the communications open.
Yeah, easy to connect with people and message them there. So we'll put the links in the description of this, audio or video, depending where you're tuning in from, and you can get connected with Nathan there. Nathan, any last final words of wisdom or topics, anything final kind of thing that you wanted to share with the audience today?
Yeah, I will add that the construction industry as a whole,
Mhm.
most of us do it or have done it in the past because we enjoy working with our hands. We bring something to life that shows up as just boards or metal or wire and we get to make stuff. We accomplish so much in such little time.
Mhm.
Don't get caught up in the passion that we hear as the noise around us. Don't get caught up in all the noise of other people's success. Like you have to have this and you have to have this drive and you have to have no, what you have to remember is you like pounding nails, you like wiring a house, you like heating up people's house, especially the HVAC guys in northern Minnesota. Like, I hope you love your job because I want heat. Don't
Yeah.
forget that. That's what you
Mhm.
started it for. And your outcome or your result that you were hoping for is the freedom of your time, money, and energy. So don't lose sight of that. And if you have, that's why Derek and I are here. We're helping you find that.
Yeah. Love it. Words to live by. Thanks for sharing that, Nathan. Thanks for being on today. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you sharing all your knowledge.
And thank you, Derek, for letting me be on. It's great. Best of luck.